Hi. So this really isn't a lecture, but it is my attempt at giving you all a chance to hear from me regarding the term project for our class. You are being provided a classic Harvard Business School case study entitled Framework for Analyzing Workgroups. In this case study, you will learn about John Kirschner and his dream to build a legacy new product development group that, once established, would become a crucial component in the long-term success of the Merit Corporation. As you'll come to find out that while his dream did become reality, it didn't last, and this ultimately failed. You will rewrite this narrative such that when Donaldson arrives to head up R&D, and marketing is responsible for R&D in many companies, you can show that not only did the NPD group thrive, but it unquestionably deserves to survive for the long haul. This is a classic case study. It was first written in 1979 and has been used for decades at numerous schools, colleges, and universities. Here are just a few that I am personally aware of. So, this has been used because of its detail and foundational exposure to the ideas of organizational behavior management. When you read through this case study, you will see that our author, Michael McCaskey, tells the story in parts. 5 parts to be exact. I think of it sort of as an opera in 5 acts. For each act, he tells us some part of the story and then frames the context in organizational behavior management terms. My recommendation is to follow the same model. Rewrite the story, in parts or acts if you will, following what you've learned from our book, lectures, online discussions, and homework. The story will unfold differently, right? Feel free to take it anywhere you would like. You will have a different ending. This is your story, so have some fun with it. Now that we're nearing the completion of our text, the earlier you start on this, the better your result will be. If you wait until the end, you will be crushed for time, it will be decidedly unfun, and it will be reflected in your work. So set some time each day aside to pick away at this. Your goal here is this: to convince Donaldson and his staff that because of the NPD group's success and improved management of the organization's behavior, that it's worth keeping and investing in. Recall from our syllabus, this is directly from our syllabus, and I'm not going to read this page, but I do encourage you to follow what is outlined in the syllabus regarding the report, the citations, and everything else that's required. To receive full credit, you will touch on and address each and every chapter in our book. You will use my lectures as supportive material. Now you can use the online discussions if they're appropriate. You can use the homework if they're also appropriate. And I'll talk a little bit about sources and attestation in a little bit. Right? I would say that you should expect to read and reread this case such that you will learn it forwards and backwards. And don't feel beholden to follow exactly the book's order, as in the first act will cover chapters 1 through 4, the next act will cover chapters 5 through 7. I will guess that'll make for a pretty boring story. Maybe you will find that the chapter on ethics fits best with culture and diversity for a particular act in your story. There is no wrong answer here, but misquotes or misuse of a concept can impact your grade. The term paper portion of this project is to be emailed by 11:59 Sunday, December 4th. No later than that. A hard copy of your term paper is to be handed in immediately prior to your in-class presentation on the 5th of December. Your presentation will be 10 minutes in length, followed by a 4-minute Q&A, and will be presented by you the last night of class. Your presentation will be the presentation you would give to Donaldson, also known as me, and Donaldson's staff, the other students in class, as to why the NPD group should survive. Remember, this is a presentation to senior management. Make sure you practice it, and it is to be 10 minutes, period. I'll have a timer for you so you'll be able to see how much time you have left. You will also have at your disposal the classroom computer and projector with which to make your presentation. Neither the term paper nor the presentation are team activities. This is to be an individual effort. I've attempted to simplify the research you may need by focusing on our textbook, lectures, homework, and online discussions. I really didn't want to ask you to spend hours and hours doing research, coming up with other sources and viewpoints. Our book is 30 miles wide and 1 inch deep. You have more than enough reference material. If you feel a need to expand beyond that, here are some guidelines. Now first, if you use our book, simply state, MOB, Chapter 4, page 147, and then give us the title of the section, in this case, Punishment and Discipline. Or, if you use First Break All the Rules, in the same format, book, chapter, page, and section title. If you use a lecture, then give the lecture and slide title. But if you go outside of our book, then you need to use complete APA citation. My goal here is for you to spend your time applying what you've learned and not digging like gophers. Again, if you feel the need to bolster your narrative with outside sources, feel free, and here are the guidelines for acceptable sources. Here are the guidelines for the list of unacceptable sources, basically stuff that's not peer-reviewed. I'll post a PDF of this slide deck for your review, and you can see all of this at your leisure. The case study is offered in its totality with one caveat. I took the liberty of updating it and amending it. I did so in terms of culture and diversity such that you would have a chance to address this better in that chapter. Okay, some final thoughts. Think about the outcomes you want the NPD group to achieve. How does the current narrative reveal how the group performs? And what will you do to change this? What culture, norms, and values do you want the group to generate? And what does the group do that's not required versus what is required? How might you impact the culture of the group to achieve different outcomes? What sorts of things are directly under the control of the manager and leader, and what things aren't? How do you influence the group to drive the goals and the outcomes you desire? How does the group operate in its current narrative, and how might you propose a rewrite to affect the group dynamic? And where might you anticipate some difficulties? Okay, so I hope this project outline helped you better understand the expectations and also gave you some ideas as how to proceed. So in my typical call to action fashion, start early and work on it often. Delay will make this totally unfun. Remember, I have no homework scheduled after November 6th other than reading the First Break All the Rules book, listening to some short commentary lectures from that book, and one final online discussion. And this is not a gift. The expectation is that you will be working on your project, which also means I will be grading you as if you have 1 full month to write this paper and prepare the presentation, because this is exactly what you have. Fight the urge to dig like a gopher and bring new info to the table. Instead, work on your story. Make it believable and applicable. This is your chance to practice what you've learned in class and to get to pull the strings, pull all the strings. This is your opera. Make it your opera.